This is section 9.6 entitled Circles. Okay, so this one it kind of is obvious, that we skipped chapter 9 and we had to go back to, now we are coming back to it because this is some of the things we should have covered before. So a circle is a set of all points in a plane. So when it says it's a plane, we're thinking like a flat piece of paper. We're not thinking 3D shapes here anymore. Now we're thinking just a flat piece of paper that are the same distance from a given point at the center. So we have our center, okay, and then we have our circle that is the same distance from that center. All right. Our radius is a segment. Again, we know what a line segment is. It has two endpoints with endpoints at the center and on the circle. Okay, so if we have our circle here, our radius is going to have an endpoint at the center, which again, it's kind of hard to draw a point exactly at the center, and at the outside of the circle. Okay, so that is kind of what our radius is. It could go from there, could go from the center to this endpoint on the circle, from the center to this endpoint on the circle. Again, it doesn't have to be any certain endpoint on the circle. It just has to end somewhere on the end of the circle and start in the center. Then we have the diameter, which is a segment whose endpoints are on the circle and it passes through the center. Okay, so the diameter is basically like cutting the circle in half. So it's got the endpoints on the opposite ends of the circle and then through the middle. So the diameter is basically taking two radiuses and putting them together. This one again is just like cutting the circle in half. So if we think of our Earth, the diameter of the Earth would be the equator because it passes right through the center of the Earth. Okay, then we have a chord. And it's a segment whose endpoints are on the circle. So the chord's a little bit different because it doesn't touch the center ever. A chord could be, let's cut this little chunk of the circle off. Okay, a chord could be, let's cut this little section off. Okay, it just has two endpoints that are somewhere on the circle and it does not pass through the middle, through your center point. And lastly, we have the circumference. I'm going to draw that one over here. Okay, and all the circumference is it's the perimeter of the circle. So if I started at the top of the circle and I counted all the way around the circle, that is my circumference. So it's just like the perimeter of a rectangle, except for we call the perimeter of a circle a circumference. Okay, and our formula for circumference is C equals 2 pi r, or C equals pi d. Again, remember, if I have two r's, if I have two radiuses, that would add up to one diameter. So that's why we can have two r or two radiuses, or we could have one diameter. We'll write this out. C means circumference. Circumference. R equals radius. And D equals diameter. What else was I going to put in here? Oh yeah, pi equals 3.14. We know that one, right? Okay, so this is our big formula we need to know for this one. Then we have a central angle, and that's it's an angle whose vertex is at the center of the circle. So let's say we have our circle here. We have our center here. Okay, maybe if I draw it bigger, it'll look like it's more in the center. And then we have an angle that goes out to the edge of our circle. Okay, this is point A, point B, point C. Okay, so then we would say angle ABC. Going back to this 2 pi r or pi d, so if they show you, they say find the circumference of a circle whose diameter is 6. Then we would just have to take c equals pi times 6. Then we would take 3.14 times 6. I mean, again, guys, we followed formulas all year. We've been practicing. How do we work with formulas? How do we work with formulas? So this should just be kind of a continuation of how do we continue working with formulas. So 6 times 4 is 24. Then we have 6 times 1 is 6, 7, 8. 6 times 3 is 18. Bring it back 2 spots. Our circumference would be 18 and 84/100ths. Let's say this was centimeters. Centimeters. We wouldn't do centimeters squared because it's not area. We wouldn't do centimeters cubed because it's not volume. Okay, so we would just put regular old centimeters. So that's how we would do that one. And again, if they give you R, then we'd have to use this formula over here. Okay, so there's our central angle, jumping down to the bottom here. Lastly, they want us to practice making a circle graph for the data using proportions. Okay, so what that will look like is, well, first off, let me tell you what we need to do. We have blood types here. And if you ever want an interesting story, you should ask me about mine. Okay, so A, there's different blood types. We have blood type A, B, C, D. Oh, no, we do not have A, B, C, D. We have A, B. Our third type is AB. And our last type is O. Okay, and with each of these, there's positive and negative. But we won't talk about that. So 40% of people have A blood type. 12% have B blood type. 5% have AB blood type. And 43% have O blood type. Okay, so if I'm going to take my circle graph here, if I cut it straight down the middle, I'm at 50-50. So just eyeing it, if I took 43 and then I added 5, I'd be at about 48%. So I'd be at about almost 50% with just A, B, and O. So I'm going to find my center here. Okay, so this would be straight up and down. I'm going to go just slightly this way. Okay, so I'm going to call this one, I'm going to say O, 43%. I'm going to say AB, which should probably be a little bit skinnier. But then I'm not going to be able to write it very well. AB should definitely be a little bit skinnier. Okay, so then I'm going to put AB in here. And then we'll put 5%. Okay, so then we need about a 40% and a 12%. Let's eye about 12% there. This would be blood type B, 12%. And then we'll go here with blood type A would be about 40%. Okay, so it kind of looks like a peace sign. Actually, that's kind of interesting. Okay, and just to explain when it says use proportions, it doesn't mean that, it just means that they don't want you like making it up and saying that this is 40%, this is 43%, then I'm going to chop this part off and I'm going to make it 5%. Okay, they want you to get it as close to realistic as possible. So that's just what it means by use your proportions. Okay, so that's all that I have for you today. Please come in and ask questions if you have any. Otherwise, thank you for watching.